If your child can recognise Spanish words, maybe even complete worksheets or do well on apps, but completely freezes when it comes to actually speaking, you are absolutely not alone. And in most cases, the problem isn't grammar, it isn't vocab, it isn't even ability, it's confidence. And I know this not just as a Spanish tutor, but from real lived experience. I've taught Spanish to children in the UK. I've worked with home educated, Worldschooling, bilingual families for years. And I've also home educated my own children bilingually for 6 years after living in Argentina. We were surrounded by Spanish every day, and I watched firsthand how children actually acquire a language when it's used in real life, not just studied in a classroom. And in this video, I want to share what I've learned, because confidence is the missing piece in most children's language learning. When we think about children learning Spanish, it's easy to assume progress looks like learn the words, learn the grammar, and then speak, right? But in reality, it rarely works that way. What I see again and again with home educated, Worldschooling, bilingual families is this. The children know more Spanish than they're willing to use. They understand the phrases, they recognise the vocab, and they can often build sentences in their heads. But the moment they have to speak it, everything slows down. They overthink, they worry about making mistakes, and suddenly, silence. And the surprising truth is this. It's not usually lack of knowledge holding them back. It's fear of getting it wrong. And this is something I see a lot in my Spanish classes for children. Somewhere along the way, many children learn that being correct matters more than being understood. So instead of experimenting with language, they start holding back. They wait until they're sure. They wait until it's perfect. They wait until they feel ready. But language learning doesn't work like that. I've seen children who can confidently complete written exercises completely freeze when asked a simple question like, ¿Qué te gusta? Not because they don't know it, but because they're worried about saying it wrong. And once that fear creeps in, confidence drops, and the speaking drops with it. When I lived in Argentina with my own children, I saw this process in reverse, and it completely changed how I think about language learning. So my children were immersed in Spanish every day, and they made mistakes constantly. They mixed up words, they invented phrases, and sometimes said things that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And the locals and family and friends would smile, they'd laugh gently, or they'd just help them rephrase. But here's the key thing. They didn't stop speaking. They didn't become embarrassed and shut down. They just kept going. And that confidence, that willingness to try without fear, is exactly what helped them become fluent. Not perfect grammar, not worksheets, and not endless correction, just real communication. And this is something I want every parent to hear clearly. Confidence doesn't come after fluency. Confidence comes before fluency. Children don't become confident once they're good at Spanish. They become good at Spanish because they were confident enough to use it in the first place. And when children feel safe to make mistakes, everything changes. They speak more, they take more risks, they experiment with the language, they actually use what they know. And that's where the real progress happens. When confidence is in place, language learning becomes completely different. Instead of hesitation, you get curiosity. Instead of silence, you get attempts. And instead of perfection, you get communication. And that's what leads to fluency over time. Not getting everything right, but being willing to speak anyway. And that's exactly what we focus on inside our Spanish classes, building confidence first so children actually feel able to use Spanish in real life. Because the goal isn't perfect Spanish on a worksheet. It's a child who can walk into a cafe in Spain, smile, and actually speak Spanish. And if you'd like to find out more about our classes and the Adventures in Spanish framework, you can visit our website. I've popped the link in the description below. That's all from me. Hasta la próxima. Adiós.